Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic, Legend, Non-Classic. This is episode number 3340 and Doubleshot number 30. No, it's not 40. It is number 3346 and Doubleshot 3240. I got two Marvel trades here. First is Hercules, the other, of course, is X-Men. For Hercules, it's Hercules, Prince of Power. Written and drawn by Bob Layton. Artist by Luke McDonald. Famous artists worked on Suicide Squad and Sam De Rosa. This book collects, if you're really curious, this collects the first and second volumes for Hercules. Yes, Hercules. Two miniseries released back in 1982 and 1984, respectively. And the thing with these two books are, these two are technically the first two volumes released for Hercules. You're like, really? Yeah, really. Except for this particular book, it's not 616 Hercules. Oh no. This is Hercules of the future. Yep. Earth 829. And the thing with this guy is, well, he only exists in these first two miniseries. You think in the future, you think, oh, is Guardians of the Galaxy involved? No. No, they're not. Mostly put, these are just two miniseries feature them. Also Galactus, a version of Nova, who's Frankie Ray. Yes. Who only appears as one issue. Heck, at one point he runs into, get this, he runs into, I think in the second miniseries, he also switches his outfits. Because in the first miniseries, he's wearing the Jack Kirby costume. In the second one, he's wearing a brand new costume. Actually, he gets a brand new costume, which with his pants now, and he wears it for this miniseries. And he's here with a recorder named Recorder 427. He's a Virgilian recorder, and this guy first appeared in the first miniseries, and he is with him for pretty much the rest of the time this version of the character's around. At one point, he runs into the Collector and Star Fox. Yep. The best way to describe this particular Earth, it's basically Hercules in the future. Yep. It's almost like Hercules in the 22nd century. Well, in the case one is 24th century. And he has an Artemis, who is, well, maybe someplace else. He also has a granddaughter, who's a Silver Surfer. Yeah, but these two miniseries are a lot of fun, and Layton writes and draws pretty much all four issues of this miniseries, of both the first and second one. And here's the weird thing. The first two volumes, like I said, don't feature 661. The third volume does. You're like, does it? Yes, it does. Yep. The third volume does feature him. You're like, huh, interesting. Yep, it does feature him. But what do I feel about these two miniseries? They're really good. Oh, and don't worry, there is follow-up to this one. So, I do have a theory of why Layton decided to put this character in the future. Well, because sci-fi was one of the more popular genres in the 1980s, alongside with action-adventure and horror. These three genres were like so... People loved these genres so much. I mean, martial arts was still kind of there, along with... No, you're probably thinking, what about black exploitation? That was the thing for the 70s. But thanks to movies like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Star Trek. And people love stuff set in the future. So, I guess it's like, why not? Why not do this? And, gotta admit, Lane does a great job. Not the first time that he's based. I think this may be one of the first times he actually has a sole writing credit. Because I think he mostly put, whenever he writes, usually he just co-writes it with, he co-writes with, I think it was Dave Michelini. Yep. Mostly put, he's usually there as a co-writer. I think this may have been, I'm looking up right now, this may be the first time that he actually did do the writing by himself. And I'm looking up right now. Let's see. I'm looking up right now. Let's see. Yeah, I think this book in particular, I think was the first time that Bob Layton just did this by himself. You're like, really? It took this very book? Yeah. Like it's anyways, his credit-wise, that was probably his first writing credit he did solely by himself. Yes. Of course, after these two miniseries wrapped up, then he did Issue Missing Experiment, and then he worked on X Factor, which he was just a writer for, not the artist. This probably was the first book that he worked on where he didn't necessarily ever did the artwork for it. You're like, really? Yeah. But he only did the opening 5 issues in the first year, and then he left. He basically liked Iron Man after that. But this book is really good. I give it roughly a 10 out of 10. Yep. Alright, next up is X-Men, the animated series. Known as Fear and Hated. This collects, let's see, I think this was the first miniseries. Let's see, I'm looking right now. This is the first 8 issues of the first volume. Now, is this set in the same continuity as TV show? No, not necessarily. It's more like an alternate take on TV show. So basically, you just have the characters in the show, and it's more like an adaptation of it in this universe. It is written by Rob Marcio, artwork by Andrew Wildman and Chris Batista. Adapted teleplays by Jim Carlson, Mark Edward Edison, Terrence McDonald, Don Gut, Robert Elsner, Marty Esberg, and Michael Evans. So in this first issue, basically you just have our regular X-Men. Well, at first they deal with Sabretooth, and Jubilee is there, and of course, well, they attack a house because a mutant is there. And of course, they attack a mall that she has. Melts her hand. No. Her ability is not good. It causes fireworks. It doesn't cause basically melting ability. So, yeah, this first issue here is a loose adaptation of the first episode of the series. But no Morpheus here, yes. And of course, you have Henry Peter Gyrick, who actually was heavily involved in the show. Now, in the show, he hated mutants. In the comics, he did not. Not necessarily. Yeah, and then, of course, you have, Death of an X-Men. Possibly Death of Morph. Morph popped up a few times after that, and, well... And, of course, well, this is Beast breaking into the facility, and Morph getting killed, Jubilee being captured. Beast is later put on trial. He has a bail hearing, but he basically... Yeah, he'll not run. So, Sentinels attack. And this all leads to issue 3, which... I think this is an adaptation of episode 3 of the show, which, yes, this is where they first meet Magneto in the show. But later on, for some reason, they decide to establish a retcon where the original X-Men, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Angel, Iceman, and Beast, men back in the 60s, have the adaptation of the scene from the 60s in the show for some weird reason. And Sabretooth is going to be a good guy for some reason. Like, he's featured a lot in this book. We have Beast's bail hearing, and Storm basically goes wild with the whole sort of Magneto. Now, the Sentinel thing that lasts for 2 issues. And then we have the stuff with Magneto, which lasts for a good couple issues. And there's also stuff here with Sabretooth. And with Magneto back in the moon. And then we have Morlock Rising, which is an adaptation of two separate things. Adaptation of an episode from the show where Callisto, that's usually in the cover, kidnapped Cyclops to be her mate, and Storm fought for his honor. There's over the Danger Room here. Then Jean's kidnapped. In the comics, originally in the original story, it was actually Angel kidnapped, and Callisto took the time to remove his pants because she wanted to have sex with him. I am not kidding about that. She seriously wanted to do that. So basically, it's basically the Morlock issue, which of course you have Jubilee fighting Callisto with these weights. In case you're curious, though, they fought each other in the original comic with knives, which Storm won and became the leader of the Morlocks. Yep. Then you have Wolverine hunting for Sabretooth in issue number 6. Yep. And it just basically deal with that. Wolverine versus Sabretooth. Why not? And then for the last 2 issues, basically, they bring in Cable. In a sort of loose adaptation of Extinction Agenda. Yeah. They adapt Extinction Agenda here where the X-Men kidnapped, held in the Genosha, and Cable basically frees them. Well, some anyways, not all of them. Yeah, of course, you also with Master Mold here, which I'm sure that he himself is basically like this version here is taken from the original Jack Kirby design. Because in the show, I think his hair was purple. Yes, so last couple issues basically do with Cable, which in the show they describe him as a mercenary, and then later on, when he read his mind, like, oh crap, he's actually something else. It's like the whole thing with the Cable in this show, it was just an experimentation. Also, I should point out, though, that the TV show itself was the first time Cable had appeared outside the comics. The next time we saw Cable outside the comics in animation form, you're probably thinking, what's X-Evolution? Nope, did not appear there. What about Wolverine X-Men? No, not that I can think of. This show, I think, was the only thing I could think of that he appeared. I think he may appear in X-Men, but... So yeah, and they team with each other, and they take down the Genoshan government. Which, of course, they overthrow because of their anti-means. And then, of course, the book ends with them arriving home, and the Juggernaut basically demolished the Xavier Institute. In the show, they blame Richard Colossus for this. Yep. But that's the book in that show. Really good. Great adaptation of the show itself. Give this book here roughly a 10 out of 10. I think there's like one more book on here for X Adventures, and that's it. Same with Hercules. Yep. So yeah, that's the particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, to notifications. Next up we have is more My Instant Ability. The Power. Bye.